opportunity to say, is the script I've been following for my life what I really want to do, or do I want to rewrite it? And we have people going in different directions. They don't want to be part of corporate America anymore. I have one woman going into art. I have an engineer who's become a teacher. Things of that nature taking place that I think are dramatic and wonderful. And you can look at this as a golden opportunity to reassess your life and decide to do better with it.
Then that, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that part of that testing, I would imagine, is that people do make a decision, you know, I'm tired of somebody else being in charge of whether I'm working or not, and decide they want to do something more entrepreneurial.
That's why there was a time when everybody was concerned that so much of the work being done was done by temporary workers and contract workers, and they used phrases like the disposable workforce and everything. But I think that the workers themselves now are coming around to a new mindset of career thinking, lifelong thinking. I'm going to look at the point of view of my career from here on out in my working life, not just this job or that job, and how long will this job last. And they begin to think that if I'm going to be portable, that's good. That actually puts me back in the driver's seat. I'm not a victim. I'm not just waiting for some corporation to decide my destiny.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, because, you know, giving the corporation that decision would make every interview, I know from personal experience, that sense of really trial by fire. You know, you're either going to accept me or not, and that's a supplicant position.
That's right, but I recommend people go into the interview saying it's up to the company to prove that I will accept them.
That's right.
And this means being in charge, staying in charge of what you're doing and being responsible for it. The problems we encounter is the type of changes Kitty talked about are relatively straightforward. They're simple, but they're not easy, particularly people in their late 40s or 50s or even older who've been conditioned to a certain pattern of living for so long. It's very, very difficult to make the changes. Some of the men have made it easier than the women have, particularly single women in that age group. Are basically not easy to employ because employers don't want them.
So you have experienced ageism in your group.
Oh, absolutely.
Very much.
I've experienced it in my own life. That's why I picked a profession where it doesn't count so much.
That's right. You actually have an interesting life. You were an engineer with Lockheed for how many years?
32 years.
32 years. And then you made a decision. Did you retire, or was it a layoff situation for you?
I elected early retirement. I've been with them long enough, and I decided for me retirement was a change of career.
Okay.
And I encourage other people to think the same way.
So you decided to become a counselor, a marriage and family counselor, a very different route than engineer with Lockheed.
But it's still systems engineering.
Yes, right, it is. So I imagine that's very helpful in your group, that because you've had that experience of making a real strong change like that, and doing it successfully must be inspirational for them.
So I've been told.
I think a special thing about Dick that I've found is it creates such acceptance of him in the people that come to us, is that a lot of them are engineers, are technical people, and because he can speak their language, he can find metaphors with which they identify. He doesn't just seem like a touchy-feely therapist. He seems like somebody who can talk about systems engineering and reprogramming your hard disk and things like that really make people feel that it's valid. They see the logic in it. I love the class you used to teach called Feelings as a Second Language. Very necessary.
Well, and to be taking those kind of risks with a job change at the same time as feeling probably less secure than you have felt in a very long time is a very difficult thing.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you really have to reach inside of you and bring that up. Now, Kitty, you provided to me a graphic about a formula for helping to make this change. Let's take a look at that at this point. Can you tell us about this?
Yes. My formula is a coping formula. I believe that when you're out of work and you don't know exactly what you're going to do next, the first thing you need to do is start gathering information. And people too often beat themselves up because they don't know the instant answer to the next step. And my point is, how could you possibly know the instant answer if you haven't started gathering the information yet? There's nothing wrong with taking some time to gather information. And as you gather information, you will then have more knowledge. And as you have more knowledge, you'll have more confidence with which to proceed. And as you have more confidence, you'll have more energy. And what do employers want to hire, or anybody want to hire? They want to hire knowledge, confidence, and energy.
Exactly. And my encouragement to people in the groups as part of the data gathering has to be about yourself.
Okay.
What's important to me? What can I do? What is my skill set? How adaptable am I? Do I want to learn something new? And explore and test and try things. And with that knowledge comes confidence in who I am, and then I can go get a good job.
So really it's an existential crisis in a lot of ways, because for the
Absolutely.
first time, somebody's really having to answer the question, what do I want? Who am I, and what do I want?
Right.
And taking that level of personal responsibility is a scary thing.
Right.
And particularly having to go home and explain to your family, well, I've decided I no longer want to do this. Now I'm going to do something like be an artist. I'm sure that that must be a real shift as well.
And it's hard to hold on to that when you've only got 1 or 2 more unemployment checks coming, and you may have to sell the house and live on the street.
That's right.
Okay.
So keeping that commitment to this new vision I have of my future.
Right.
How do people do that? How are they able to keep their vision going when that financial fear begins to
Well, one of the
surface?
things I've seen is it used to be you waited and probed and explored until you found just the job that you wanted next.
Okay.
I recommend taking a job as a holding action to give you time to explore to get the job you ultimately want. In effect, what Kitty has recommended, have a long-term goal, and you sometimes have to take little steps off to one side in order to keep moving along the path.
The thing about that, too, is that if you keep the long-term focus, it's interesting how you can find ways to take advantage of the opportunity for new steps along the way. I often say to people, when you get your next job, keep your resume updated. And when you think in terms of keeping your resume updated, what it'll make you think about is there some training I should be getting? Maybe my company will pay to send me to it. I should take care of that while I'm working here, not just wait for the next period of unemployment to decide what you should have been doing all along the way. And then that way you might look for opportunities for new assignments, lateral assignments, and exposure to new groups of people and gathering new skills in your organization. And as you do that, you're perceived as value added and focused on the overall needs of the organization. It can be great for both.
Where are we with the cultural norm of workaholism in the Bay Area? Have you seen any shift with that, or is it still...
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse. Can you say something about that?
I see many cases where it seems like the corporate attitude is, I'll take these young people who are willing to work 80 to 100 hours a week, use them till they burn out, throw them away, and replace them. I have people like that in the group who are burned out at 30.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Okay. So we're not learning anything from the fact that we've had more, because I also know that the rate of stress disabilities, people going out, has also increased. And I guess I was hoping they were beginning to see some sort of connection.
Workaholics are a good economic investment for some companies.
Well, that's true, as are codependents.
Right, right.
Actually, that combo is unbeatable, isn't it?
You've got it, yes.
Well, I don't like to, I also see that I think the younger people are learning a lesson. They're looking and seeing what didn't work for their parents' generation. They're looking to see that the fact that Dad worked all those hours and gave all that to the company and had a PhD and had all these things, didn't buy him job security, and all I remember is he wasn't around much, and I'm not going to live my life that way. I have some friends that have noted that in their neighborhoods they're beginning to see more young mothers who were in the workforce, as they become mothers, staying home and deciding, I'm going to take some time off, we'll live on a little bit of a reduced standard of living, but I'm going to be here to raise these children for a few years. And I think there will be a re-examination process. The
Yeah.
pendulum
I think
takes
so.
a while
Yeah,
to swing
it
back.
takes a long while.
And the employers are probably not going to be the first ones to swing back.
No, probably not.
And my statement isn't true about a lot of companies. There are good companies in Silicon Valley
Sure.
who do care about their employees as a very valuable resource. But one of the things that comes up from a lot of the people I work with is when they take what seems to be a menial temporary job, they ask themselves, is this all I'm worth? Is this all I'm good for? And their answer has to be, no, I'm worth more than this. This is a stepping stone toward what I really want to do.
So to not let ourselves get sidetracked from
Right.
our vision
Right.
by being, because I know in my life when I have also experienced layoffs, even in mental health, we have organizations who shut down. There is that financial fear that comes up with, well, you know, there's a tendency to want to settle and say, well, at least it's a paycheck. And there is a sacrifice, I think, emotionally that happens with that. So I'm glad that in your group people have the support to say, okay, this is temporary.
That's
Yeah.
right. And then any security that you feel has to come from inside, not outside.
You bet. You
Yes.
bet.
And sometimes taking the survival employment is critical because a person has to eat, have shelter, and have the basic needs taken care of before you can have much meaning in the strategy for the future.
Absolutely. We have less than a minute. Do you have any pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave us with?
I recommend that you don't become a victim, that you take charge of yourself, be responsible, and keep moving.
Oh, good for you. Okay.
And I guess my pearl would be, think of yourself as someone with a product or service to offer and as a vendor. And if you think of yourself as a vendor offering services to a marketplace that needs them, you put yourself more in control of your own career direction.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for being here. It's been very, very interesting, Jenny. Really interesting. Okay, thank you for being with us tonight. Be sure and tune in over the next few weeks as we explore adult sibling relationships and menopause. I'm Mary Crocker Cook. Good night.